Like many people, Dark Souls has had a profound effect on my life. Not only is it a fun game that's filled with moments of teeth-grinding frustration from time to time, but the story, the environment, the philosophy has really helped me look at the world in a different way. One of the things I want to discuss is the importance of not going hollow. You meet a couple characters in game that tell you not to go hollow. Laurentius and Griggs stand foremost in my mind.
Goodbye then. Be safe, friend. Don't you dare go hollow.
Now, the exact process of turning hollow is not entirely clear. Many undead characters that you meet in Lordran will eventually turn hollow if you complete their quest lines in a certain way. In addition, a lot of the characters are fearful of going hollow and try to ward it off as much as possible. This makes sense because who wants to become a mindless beast? There is one notable exception, and that is the crestfallen warrior. In his sardonic state, he just wants to let it end. And eventually you do have to fight him after you ring the 2 bells of awakening. Now, what's interesting is, you as the player character don't start off as a human. You start off in a somewhat half-hollowed state when you escape from the undead asylum. You're undead. But what's interesting is that despite your appearance, you're able to continue to fight and achieve your goals. Now, there is something that says that all undead will one day lose their mind and go hollow. It's not something that you can stop, it's something that you can put off. And the symptoms of being hollow are primarily characterized by, again, a lack of free will. Those that are hollow may still have attractions to things they valued as living and undead, and we can see that here with the fact that this person's still holding on to their weapon. And if I run up here, this person is still wearing their armor and attacks me as a foot soldier would. Shield, and then of course block, bam, easy enough. And they wear armor and they're attracted to that, so they understand. This might also explain why they've maintained stations at various posts as well as their aggression towards non-hollow. I am, in their mind, an enemy. Hollows are also mad or lost. Sometimes they smell. Their mind are filled with fears, and during the process of hollowing, each death erases some parts of memory, and in the end, only madness persists. Beyond this, there is a drastic change, as you saw. If we go look at these people, you can see that the skin is emaciated and worn. It's slightly decomposed, the body looks dehydrated, and other physical signs of someone lingering on too long. Now that we know what hollowing is, in somewhat a philosophical and clinical sense, let's talk about how to avoid it. This is my first video essay, and I hope that you enjoy it. If you like it, you can support me on Patreon. Without further ado, let's get started. Going hollow occurs as a lack of hope. Again, profound despair, and the most tangible defense against that is the bonfire. You can rest at it and feel its warmth. You can feel it as like a wellspring, a reserve to draw from in your darkest moments. It allows you a safe place, if only for a moment, to rest and recover from the world, and then to push on or to go back and try again. In fact, it's such a powerful defense against going hollow that if you offer humanity, you can reverse your hollowing like I did here. My character's in their human form. The bonfire is unjudgmental. So it doesn't care how you got to it. It doesn't even care if you get to it. You can light it and rest at it at any time. And it provides sanctuary from enemies that would attack you. Having felt the warmth of flames, it makes sense that one of the endings to the game would be linking the first flame. Because you felt the comfort of fire, and the Age of Dark is new and scary. So on some level, it makes sense that you would extend the Age of Fire. More than just being a place of respite and recovery, the bonfire actually strengthens the chosen undead. If you walk up to it with a bounty of souls, you can level up. And by leveling up, you make yourself harder to kill, harder to overcome. You become a better person-fit environment for the world in what manner you feel is best. So be it a wielder of big bonks like myself, or a mage, or an archer, or perhaps you're one of those good at Dark Souls players I've heard so much about. But either way, leveling up makes you stronger. And while each individual point may not do a whole lot, it's an iterative process. So that one swing that might have killed you before because you missed a roll, now won't. You're actually, through trying and throwing yourself into the meat grinder that is the levels of this world, your character is getting better. And what used to stop them doesn't. And so you push on, and on, and on. And eventually, through persistence and effort, and eventually, from what I'm told, an increase of skill, you start to master the world. That right there is true in the game, and can be true to some degree in real life. The bonfire, it's not just a place of rest. It is a place of learning, of discovery, and of comfort. While the last part of this video was dry, clinical, and pretentious, I mean, I know who I am. It's okay, you can say it in the comments below. Was a little pretentious. It's time to be a little more animated and personal. There are two items I seek out in every playthrough of this game. The first is the awesome weapon that I'm using, the Black Knight Sword. I mean, look at it. It's a little rusted, it's a little worn for wear, but it's still sharp and strong and does a massive ton of damage. Makes it point felt, you know? And I love this weapon. I know its timings, I know its swings, I know its damages. I'm ready to use this. In fact, this was the weapon that I used when I first beat Ornstein and Smo. Or Smough, depending on how you want to pronounce it. This is my favorite weapon in the game. I like the way the character holds it, casually, on a shoulder, with a confident run, or walk. I know that whoever I hit with this is either going to feel it or be deleted. Especially if I two-hand it. Still, more ready, but not scared. Not out in a ready position like, oh, I've got to protect myself right away. It's a swagger, almost. The fact that I know I'm going to be okay in this world. The other item I search for is Havel's Ring, which I happen to have equipped right here. Havel's Ring adds to your maximum equip load. In order to get it, you have to kill a hollowed knight by the name of Havel, who wields a dragon tooth, a giant club, and will absolutely one-hit a low-level character. These two items in combination make me feel like, yes, I can do this. I am going to be strong enough to survive this world. I can exist in a place that's trying to kill me. And more importantly, I can succeed. We all have things in our lives that provide us reassurance. Things that provide us hope. Things that we can touch and be concrete. I happen to have something in my real life next to me. It's called my legacy table. There are times where I feel depressed and that I'm not worth anything or I haven't made an impact on people's lives. And on that table, I have several small items from various people that aren't monetarily valuable, but are symbols of emotional connection. That, yeah, I have made a difference in people's lives. So just as the character in the game would ostensibly feel better wielding their favorite equipment, I feel better knowing that there is some tangible proof that I have done good in people's lives. And that can prevent you from going hollow. There's an old proverb that's saying anything worth doing is often difficult, because if anyone could do it, then everyone would do it. Dark Souls embodies this particular philosophy. When I first came up with the idea for this video, I asked a question on Twitter: have Soulsborne games helped your mental well-being in any way? I received a lot of answers, but one that stuck with me was if there was one series that should be used to teach humility and discipline, it's Soulsborne games. It's almost like a martial art in digital form. Martial arts require skill, practice, dedication, understanding of one's limitations, and a desire to surpass them. Dark Souls, the same. I have to know when to attack, how to attack. I have to understand that when I swing that sword, that's happening. For good or bad, I'm swinging that sword. Same thing with dodge roll. I have to understand the limits of my stamina, and that I can't overtax it or I'll lose my ability to fight effectively. If I want to surpass my limits, or get good, as it were, I can always learn about swing times, and parry, and iframes, and eventually, some of those who are at the peak can play through entire games and bosses without being hit. The point is that anything worth doing is often difficult. And what does that sense of difficulty give you when you finally overcome it? Why, a sense of pride and accomplishment. And not in the EA sense of pride and accomplishment, where they're throwing arbitrary tasks at you until you reach a time checkpoint. I'm talking about actually feeling accomplished. The fact that you can walk around an area that would originally kill you and decimate the enemies, know their timings, their patterns, their attacks, and their countermeasures, and walk through relatively unscathed, if not completely unscathed, is actual growth. Not only as a character in the game, because you have better gear and stats and such, but as a person. You understand how to react to these situations, and instead of panic rolling over and over and over again to try to get away, you calmly approach. Maybe you raise a shield, maybe you parry, but you execute a plan that you made. There's a quote by American author John Steinbeck that goes, "Socialism never took root in America because the poor see themselves not as an exploited proletariat, but as temporarily embarrassed millionaires. You, as the chosen undead in the game, are just a temporarily embarrassed lord of all creation."
What? Oh, dear God!
Your goal is to kill Gwyn, no matter what ending you do. And it can take you 1 try, 10 tries, 1,000 tries, and every death along the way, why, that was just an embarrassment. That was a lesson, something you learned from failure. Something that the game taught you, oh, this isn't the right way to play that. Dark Souls is masterful at teaching you how to succeed through failing. I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. I'm an engineer during the day. I spend many hours learning how not to do something. I spend hours developing process, and eventually we land on the right way. But it wasn't just arrived at without sweat and sometimes blood if I cut myself, and a little bit of frustration. Dark Souls is the same way. I want you to think about how psychologically empowering it is to know that your goals are going to be accomplished. You just need to go do them. And you can make it happen. Whether it be as the chosen undead, or as the person sitting watching this video, I'm sure there's something that you're working on, something that you want. And while you're not going to get through it without some lumps and some learning and some setbacks, that's what we make the Estus flask for. Finally, Dark Souls teaches you that time is a flat circle, that everything's eventual, that the individual players of a game may change, but the game remains the same. Even you being the chosen undead is a random act of chance, as Oscar takes pity on you and then dies. Had he not died, he would have continued his quest. But you, out of boredom and possibly some level of gratitude for being let out of a cell, decide to take on his quest and become the chosen undead. If you stop or die and quit during your attempt at fulfilling a prophecy, that prophecy is just a dream. And how many dreams go unfulfilled every day? I'll leave that to you to parse out and maybe ask the philosophers, people more skilled in the art than myself, but it's something to ponder. Just like the fact that you're watching this video is something to ponder. There are going to be times where you feel down, where you feel sad, where you feel depressed or angry. And I want you to keep in mind that you're here. You are here. There are trillions of other people who could be here in your place. But you're here. And I know that's some cold comfort in saying, oh, are you just telling me to feel better? No. I'm telling you to put things in perspective. Take time to feel the emotions, but realize that everything's eventual. Meaning, you're eventually going to feel better if you work at it, if you put in the discipline, if you put in the care to try, just like you're going to be better at Dark Souls. In fact, the whole prophecy of the chosen undead is to have a lowly undead person take down the god of the world. And after all, you're not just a lowly undead. You're a temporarily embarrassed lord of all creation, and someone is in your seat. So that was my first video essay. I hope you enjoyed it. My name was Nim, or Mimicry if you're feeling professional, and it was a pleasure to make that for you. Again, if you enjoyed the video, you can always subscribe on the Patreon, as it's very helpful. There'll be a link down below. And, of course, I would always welcome a sub and comments, as I'm trying to do more than just news videos, and I'm trying to branch out a little creatively. This was a hard video to make, but ultimately, I think it was rewarding, and I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you in the next video, and remember, friends, don't you dare go hollow.